What's up, people? Welcome back to Chris Chats Comics. My name is Chris Gonzalez, and I'm back again for another episode of Single Issue Sundays. And we got 5 titles to discuss this week. Got 2 from Marvel, 1 from Image, and 2 from DC. So let's get into it. Welcome back. So Single Issue Sundays is the video series where I do a recap, a discussion, or review on the single issues that I picked up this past Wednesday. And you can go back and take a look at my haul video when I first picked them up. And again, like I mentioned, we're going to go over 5 titles this week. And let's go ahead and jump into it. So the first title going to be discussing is The Amazing Spider-Man, and this is issue number 30, and this is legacy issue number 994, and this is written by Joe Kelly. The art and the colors are done by Pete Woods, and the letters are done by Joe Caramagna. And so this issue, it starts off with this character. His name is Kenji, but he is the hero Kintsugi, and he is Dr. OM's son, and it looks like he has a terminal illness. We don't know exactly what illness it has, but it's alluded to be some type of cancer. And yeah, we just start off with him. He's texting his mother back and forth, and him and his mother having a strange relationship. And since last issue, his mother was kidnapped by Spore, aka Brian Naring. She has stopped texting Kintsugi, and she's trying to figure out what's going on with her. And I'm really not sure how I feel about this character. Again, he's been dispersed a little bit here and there throughout Joe Kelly's run, and we're finally starting to now, get to know more of him. And I still don't know how I feel about it, but he does play a bigger part later in the issue. So we cut back to they're at Willy's Wonderland. So this universe is Chuck E. Cheese, and Brian, he's still interrogating Peter. He wants to know why Peter sabotaged the Mycotera, whatever, the experiment. But again, he doesn't believe Peter that, because Peter revealed that Ben Reilly, his clone, did it, but Brian still doesn't believe him. So yeah, I really dug the artwork by Pete Woods. Again, normally I'm not really a big fan of his art. Well, during his Teen Titans run, I wasn't really a fan, but yeah, I've been really digging his artwork here. And the letters by Joe Caramagna also stood out, especially like the voices in Brian's head were this like yellow shade. So I really dug the lettering really stood out this issue. And yeah, so Kintsugi, he saves Peter, and he's wearing this mask to not get infected by the spores. So, and then we cut back to the Feast Center where Aunt May and her boyfriend Ricardo, they're cleaning up the aftermath from the battle with Torment. And this guy named Cormac Crane, he has come to help out Aunt May, and this is the guy that was revealed to be Peter's cousin during the Death Spiral events. And so why is he visiting May? We still don't know. And what are his intentions? Are they for good or are they nefarious? We don't know yet. But yeah, so we'll get more into that later. And then back to Peter's fight with Brian, and it's revealed, again, Joe Kelly's been doing this throughout his run, the flashbacks between the two. And it's kind of hinted at that Peter did something to Brian that, caused a fissure in their relationship. We don't know exactly what. And some of the dialogue by Joe Kelly just doesn't work with me, especially like Kintsugi's like, ew, you're whack as hell. And then Brian's like, I'm new to all this, but I think you suck. I just thought something with the dialogue just doesn't, sometimes it just doesn't work with me. But again, the artwork, very great. Look at these visuals. Really dope by Pete Woods. So again, Peter is trying to move, he's struggling, and he's just thinking back to what Daredevil had told him about, you know, how he's limiting his spider sense. So to basically get over the spore's effect, he uses his spider sense. So I thought it was a cool visual when he unleashed his, like, this was a cool visual where he unleashed the spider sense to fight off Brian. And then again, the design for Brian was just really creepy. And this subplot I've been digging. And then so Kintsugi, he has these like electrical weapons that, you know, hindered Brian's abilities. So Brian, he, you know, pretty much retreats, and Kintsugi reveals to Peter like, hey, don't tell my mom and that I was here. So I'm curious to see where that goes. And then in the aftermath, Peter's colleague at Rand, Astrid, she hits on him, and Peter's like, oh, well, I gotta go. And she's like, you're like the dumbest, what does she tell him? She's like, you're the stupidest smart person I know. And then go back to Aunt May's house, and Cormac, he visits Aunt May with flowers. So it's kind of weird. So why is he bringing Aunt May flowers? And we get the big reveal that Cormac's like, I did a DNA test and I found out that Benjamin Parker was my father. Peter gets upset. He's like, how dare you accuse of Uncle Ben having an affair? But Cormac's like reveals like, hey, like, no, Maybelle Parker is my mother. I'm your son, May. And Ricardo, May's boyfriend, is getting pissed. He's like, Peter, let's take this guy out. And then May doesn't deny it. And she's like, I knew when I saw your face that you looked like Ben. And she passes out. So did Uncle Ben and Aunt May have a long lost son? We'll have to find out next issue. But this was a pretty good issue. Again, solid artwork by Pete Woods. Decent enough writing. Some of the dialogue was just whatever, but I've been digging this arc of Amazing Spider-Man. So Spore will definitely come back in the future. So we'll see how it plays out. But we're one step closer to issue 1000. So that was Amazing Spider-Man. That was issue number 30. Now the last Marvel title we're going to get into is Iron Man, and this is issue number 6, and this is Legacy issue number 686, and this is written by Joshua Williamson. The artwork's done by Joanne Cabal, colors done by Nolan Woodard, and the letters are once again done by Joe Caramagna. And this issue was a pretty fun one-shot, like, standalone issue, and we start off with Melinda. She's like Tony's assistant, her, you know, underling. She's questioning Norman Osborn, Tony, and Spider-Man. So we get Joshua Williamson to write Spider-Man, which is cool. So she's questioning them about what had happened between them, and we get, you know, a little insight. So the Iron Patriot armor is back, and who's in that armor, we don't know. But the art, I really dug the artwork by Cabal. Thought it was done really well. So Melinda, she is questioning Tony, and he says like, hey, well, one of my armors and one of my bunkers have been broken into, and someone had took the armor, and it looks like Norman did it. And then we cut to Norman, and he tells her like, hey, I was just chilling in my office, just minding my own business, when Iron Man shows up and starts interrogating him, and they have a fun back and forth, and Norman revealed like, hey, like, I work with your father. And then we cut to Spider-Man, And the coloring, I'm not sure if this is like this in all the issues, but the coloring was kind of faded out on this page. But Spider-Man, he's like, yeah, I'm just looking for a bagel. And ironically, the best bagels are in the Norman or the Oscorp's break room. And so Peter's at Oscorp, and meanwhile, Norman is getting interrogated and attacked by Iron Man. Because again, Tony thinks Norman has something to do with the Iron Patriot armor getting stolen. And so Spider-Man, he steps in between them, and he's actually the reasonable adult in this situation for once. And so Norman's like, you know what? I got nothing to hide. You can check my lab and see that I'm innocent. But when they get into the lab, the Iron Patriot armor is there. So Norman, he is being set up, and him and Tony are trying to figure out what's going on. So, but then someone remotely hijacks the Iron Patriot armor. And this all refers back to the Dark Reign era and the Dark Avengers era, when Norman was wearing the Iron Patriot armor, and that's when, you know, Brian Michael Bendis was writing. So it's cool references to that. And so who is remote controlling the Iron Patriot armor? We don't know yet, but Iron Man and Spider-Man try to take the armor out. And then then Spider-Man goes back to help Norman while Iron Man is fighting off the Iron Patriot armor. And then Norman, he uses the Gold Goblin helmet to figure out that there's somebody else in that room. And Spider-Man subdues him, or tries to, and it's revealed that it's Ghost. Ghost is behind all of it, and he wants revenge against Norman Osborn for his time, you know, with the Thunderbolts, I think. Yeah, so Ghost is looking for revenge against Norman. They have a pretty cool fight, and again, I really dig Joshua Williamson, his voice for Spider-Man. I thought it was spot on with the quips and the humor. And just the artwork, look at that, just really cool design for Spider-Man, really digging the artwork. So meanwhile, Tony is still fighting off the armor. Tony was took a back seat in this issue. It was mostly focusing on Norman and Spidey, which is kind of crazy because this is an Iron Man comic. But they fend off Ghost, and Ghost he's looking for files. And it's revealed Norman, he eventually gives access to Ghost, but it's revealed that the files that Ghost was looking for, they were deleted a long time ago. So that was all for nothing. And, you know, they eventually subdue Ghost by shocking him. And that's pretty much how they resolved that issue. I enjoyed the humor in it a lot, and then, you know, Tony Stark and Norman Osborn, they eventually come to a truce. I like that Peter, he's upset that the bagel that he wanted so bad burnt up. And then afterwards, really dug. Look at this beautiful double page spread of Iron Man and Spider-Man going off together. And then afterwards, Norman, he meets with other heroes like Cap, Sue Storm. I don't know who this guy is, but Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, and War Machine. So they are watching over Tony. They're trying to figure out, they're keeping an eye on Tony, but what is Tony, you know, what is he doing? Like, why are they watching over him so much? But, and then it gives a hint to the Citizen V character, who appeared sporadically during the first arc. So who is Citizen V? I guess we're going to find out next issue. But yeah, that was pretty much it. Another fun standalone issue of Iron Man. Highly recommend. Joshua Williamson's run has been pretty fun so far. So that was Iron Man issue number 6. Now let's go ahead and get into the Lone Image title this week, and this is Spawn. This is issue number 376. And like I mentioned on Wednesday during the haul video, this is my first foray into the Spawn comics. Never read any of the stuff before, so I apologize if I didn't get any context that was leading up to this issue. But this is a new jumping on point because we have a new writer. It's no longer Todd McFarlane. It is Matthew Rosenberg, and the artwork is done by Steven Segovia. The colors are done by Robert Nugent, and the lettering is done by Tom Orvikowski. Probably butchered that pronunciation, but thought the artwork in the opening spread page was pretty striking with this dude on fire. I guess he set himself on fire. And then, you know, we have some of the nearby citizens putting it out, and they're just in this really bad neighborhood. And then we get these 3 newscasts just explaining what's going on in the world, about how there's a war going on between heaven and hell, and then I guess both heaven and hell left Earth. But I just thought, like, this whole page dedicated, you know, all this text dedicated to I just thought it was kind of unnecessary. Could have done it in a better way. And we cut to this reporter. She is interviewing some citizens in this neighborhood about Spawn and how they know him. And some people think he's, you know, a protector of the neighborhood. Some people think he's a king, and other people don't give a fuck about Spawn. And what happened to Spawn? Because is Spawn dead? We don't know yet. So then it cuts to this reporter. She's interviewing this kid named Miles, and then we just file Miles. So we do go into a flashback with Miles. He's at this butcher shop with his older brother Mingus. Mingus is, you know, talking to him, trying to convince him not to get a job at this butcher shop owned by this guy named Mr. Jones. But, you know, so we're just following these 2 brothers, and then Mingus, he tells Miles, like, hey, like, we'll go see the movie this Friday, just go home. And then cuts to later that night, Mingus runs into Miles' room, and he's all frantic, and Miles doesn't know what's going on. And then all of a sudden, Mingus gets attacked and whipped out of his apartment. And this is like the one good shot of Spawn this whole issue. And Spawn essentially, you know, causes Mingus to kill himself. So Miles is, of course, he's visibly upset. We cut to Mingus's funeral. He's being, you know, consoled by Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones, again, is offering Miles a job at the butcher shop, but Miles declines. So then we cut to Miles. He's, you know, trying to get information from this junkie about Spawn and his location, but the junkie, he's scared out of his mind. And then we get Spawn. He's up in the background watching over Miles. So again, Miles is just looking for revenge, and he's trying to, you know, kill Spawn. So Miles, he follows Spawn, and he follows him to this battle that Spawn's jumping into with this huge monster. And then eventually, you know, the cops are trying to prevent Miles from entering the area. Miles has a gun. Again, he wants to kill Spawn, but then something happens where there's a big explosion, and then there's a giant crater in the middle of this area. And what caused it, I'm not sure. Let me know if, you know, this happened in previous issues of Spawn. But again, Mr. Jones, he once again approaches Miles and offers him once again a job. And we cut back to the present with the newscaster just interviewing Miles, and he asks her, like, he tells her, oh, Spawn, I don't know anything about him. And that's pretty much was it. So this was kind of an underwhelming issue of Spawn. Spawn was barely in it. We were following this kid, and I, again, don't really care about it. And I cared about, you know, I wanted to see Spawn. And I think Matthew Rosenberg's an excellent writer. His If Destruction Be Our Lot comic that I read last month was incredible, him with his brother. And this, I just was looking forward to this. And I to be honest, I was just completely underwhelmed. I still trust in Matthew Rosenberg, but I'm probably not going to add this to my pull list. If I hear good word of mouth about it, I'll probably maybe pick up the trade when it comes out, but from the first issue alone of this run, I wasn't digging it. But let me know. You might dig it. But that was Spawn. This is issue 376. Now let's jump over to DC. First DC title I'm going to go over is Poison Ivy, and this is issue number 45. And this is written by G. Willow Wilson. The art's done by Leonardo Fernandez. The colors are done by Arif Paronto, and the letters are done by Hassan Otsmane Elhau. And yeah, I've read like 1 or 2 issues, random issues of Poison Ivy back when I was writing for BatmanNews.com, and I haven't read any since, and I didn't read from the beginning. So this is, since it's like a prologue to the Batman Bad Seeds event that's coming out later this year, I decided, hey, let's jump on, grab this issue. I want to know everything about the event, and I respect G. Willow Wilson as a writer. And I've heard nothing but great things about this run. So let's start off with, I've got a TV telecast of this newscaster. She's just praising what Ivy has done in Gotham as mayor, and it's pretty much, Ivy is pretty much creating a narrative and shaping the narrative for her few weeks as mayor, to try to promote a better image for herself. And then she is outside of this area, outside of her office, and she's getting questioned by all these reporters, and she wants nothing to do with it. So she, her assistant, her name is Janet, and Janet tells Ivy, like, hey, Batman visited me, so I'm not sure if this happened in the previous issue, but Batman visited me, and he warned me to tell you to resign. And Ivy's, of course, she's pissed about it, and she tells Janet, like, hey, give me a hold of Vandal Savage, I need to talk to him. So later on, Ivy, she meets with Vandal Savage, and she starts questioning Savage. Like, she's telling him, like, hey, like, I've given you all this funding for all your task force and all your, essentially creating Gotham into a police state, and we still don't have Batman. What's the deal? And Vandal Savage is like, hey, we've raided so many bunkers, we're doing a good job here. But then Ivy is not having it. And also Vandal Savage, he's like, we captured Barbara Gordon, like we're winning right now. And again, Ivy does not care. She wants the Batman brought in. And this references issue number 9 of Batman, where Barbara, she was arrested at the end of it, and Vandal, he's like warning her, like, hey, I'm the only friend you have, and the city council is against you, so you better treat me right. So, and meanwhile, her assistants are just overhearing the argument that Ivy and Vandal were having. So then we cut back to the mayor's mansion, where Ivy, she's trying to write a letter to Harley, because apparently they have broken up and Ivy misses Harley. But then she hears something outside, so she thinks it's Harley, so she goes out there. She goes outside, but it's not Harley. Somebody's watching her, and it's this creature. Apparently its name is the Kettlehole Devil, and it's a part of the Parliament of Trees, and it's come to kill Ivy, because apparently Ivy, has there's friction between the Parliament of Trees and Ivy, because again, I haven't been reading the run, so let me know in the comments what happened between them. But I know the Parliament of Trees from Alan Moore's Swamp Thing run. They were in an arc where Swamp Thing, I remember he went to go visit them to question if he was human or not, or so I believe so, and I might be wrong, but I remember Swamp Thing going to the parliaments of trees to get answers. But yeah, so Ivy, she tussles with Kettle, and he threatens to kill Harley, and that's what sets Ivy off. And she says that, touch her and I will burn every member of the parliament into charcoal. And Kettle's like, it's just one human. And Ivy's like, she's the only human that matters. So she's still in love with Harley Quinn. And then Kettle, he just warns her like, hey, this isn't over between us. So Ivy, she goes to seek out some help, and she tries to seek out help from Xylon, and I guess he's her sponsor from the fungal counterpart of the gray, and she seeks her help. And Xylon appears, but he refuses to help Ivy because of her issues with the Parliament of Trees, and because of those issues have also caused friction between the Gray and the Parliament. So he refuses to help her, and he drops her from like several stories up in the air, and that's pretty much where the issue ends. So as far as like a prelude to the Bad Seeds event, we get a little story, regarding with Vandal Savage, so that's definitely setting up something. But I thought this was a solid issue of Poison Ivy. I mean, I didn't know some of the context heading into this, but thought it was a solid read. I would recommend Poison Ivy, and that's issue number 45. And the last issue that I'm going to go over today is Batman, and this is issue number 10, and this is written by Matt Fraction. Jorge Jimenez is returning back on the artwork, and the colors are done by Tamu Mori, and the letters are done by Clayton Cowles with Jorge Jimenez. And I just have to say, it's great to have Jorge back on the artwork. His art, I think, he's doing the best work in his career right now on this run. And we start off with, these panels of, cell phones, and Damian has revealed that to Stephanie Brown and to Duke Thomas that him and his father blew up Wayne Manor, and meanwhile, Vandal Savage, he's been, stationed there, and he's just laughing maniacally. So, and then now Vandal, he's on a media run, and he's, propping up all the good that he's done with his initiative and with his task force. And yeah, he's touting how successful the raids have been. And I thought this part was pretty cool, where he's walking through the police station, and him and Gordon have a stare down because, of course, Gordon's daughter was arrested, and Vandal Savage, he kind of respects Gordon for being there still. And then we cut to this, and one of the crime families, the Suzuki crime families, they're having a funeral for, we're finally get more mentions and threads with dealing with the Minotaur finally. And the Minotaur, this is what he looks like without the mask, apparently. So he shows up to this Suzuki-san's funeral, even though the Minotaur was the one who killed his daughter, but the Minotaur is like, hey, he essentially tells him, hey, chill out. Yeah, I killed your daughter, but we're all part of Taurus now, and since Hugo Strange was messing with you, he's messing with Taurus now, so Hugo Strange was killed. And the Minotaur is like, hey, I did you a favor. Chill out. And then we cut to Bruce Wayne. He has a meeting with his board member at Wayne Enterprises. And this guy, what's his name? I think his name is Blake. I don't know. His last name is Blake. I don't know his name. But this guy, he's revealed hey, Dr. Zeller has filed paperwork to end her project involving, the Crown of Storms, and she was using a lot of this metal called titographene to produce it. So this guy Blake, he's just like, oh, with Dr. Zeller no longer using that material, we can use it to, for military purposes. And Bruce Wayne, he is not having that. He doesn't want to use it for that. And then we cut to back at the Batcave. So I don't know if he's slowly losing his mind with these hallucinations with Alfred, but he's just having a conversation with, again, Alfred's dead. This is all in Bruce's head, but he's starting to figure out the connection with all the crime families in the Minotaur. So they're looking into that. And they finally are like mentioning the Minotaur, because he hasn't been seen since issue number 4. So, and he's like pretty much the kingpin essentially, and has ties with Vandal Savage as well. So finally getting more info into that subplot, and I'm curious. I'm very curious. The Minotaur, he's a fascinating villain, so I'm curious to see how that story unfolds. So I was curious, why is Dr. Zeller shutting down her project? Does it have to do with something the Joker did? We don't know, but I'm curious to see how that unfolds as well. So, and then we got, Batman, even though Vandal Savage, he's touting his raids as a success, Batman is still going out and saving people and, fighting crime. And so he's throughout the city. Just thought this was pretty cool. Throughout the cities, again, still helping people. And meanwhile, while Vandal Savage is on his media run, touting like, oh, we've taken over so many bunkers, Batman is still, putting in the work. And then we get our first appearance of Catwoman, Selina Kyle, in Matt Fraction's run. So how is she going to come into the story? I'm curious, but digging her design by Jorge. So Batman and Selina, they have a stare down. So what's that all about? How is she going to come into the story? So, but yeah, and then we get a recorded message from Barbara. She's consoling the rest of the Bat family, and like she's like, hey, just trust the plan. This is all me getting arrested was all part of the plan. So what is their plan? Why did Barbara have to go to jail? I'm curious. So meanwhile, throughout the city, these devices are opening up, and it's revealed that, again, a bunch of these devices are opening up throughout the city, a bunch of these lights. Batman has this smirk on his face. Vandal Savage, the GCPD station is blacked out. So what's going on? They're looking outside, and it's revealed that, again, even though Vandal Savage is touting that his raids are a success, Batman is still out here helping. So this is the unveil of the Bat Signal 2.0, and it's like thousands of drones, and they light up with LED lights. So I thought that was a pretty cool image. So that was it. That was the end of Batman issue number 10. Again, I thought it was a fun read. Not the best issue of Bat Fractions run. It's kind of like, I wouldn't say it's filler, but it's more setup, and it's just a statement that Batman, even though Vandal Savage thinks he thinks he's victorious, Batman says otherwise. So thought this was a fun issue. Been digging Matt Fraction's run. I highly recommend. And that was Batman issue number 10. And that was it. Those were all the books that I had this week. So let me know what your thoughts about these books, if you read them, in the comments below. And just leave a like on the video. Share the video if you can. I would really appreciate it. And subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. And yeah, so that was it. So thanks again for watching. My name's Chris Gonzalez. This is my dog Cuddy. And this has been Chris Chats Comics.